Philadelphia Eagles are back, no stranger to headlines, and this week brought another dose of drama, injuries, and crucial updates that fans can't ignore. If you've been following closely, you already know things have been intense around the NovaCare complex. Roster shakeups, player frustrations, and a glimpse into what the future could look like for this team. It's all happening right now in Philly. And honestly, the Eagles aren't just managing injuries and depth chart decisions. They're juggling expectations, locker room chemistry, and a fan base that's always hungry for another deep postseason run. Let's kick things off with the roster changes that caught everyone by surprise. Last week, Eagles fans were hit with the disappointing news that Nolan Smith, the promising pass rusher, was headed to injured reserve due to a triceps injury. That was already a tough pill to swallow. But now, the Birds have lost yet another key piece. Long snapper Charlie Hullett has been placed on injured reserve as well, and while that might not sound like a game-changing loss at first, special teams are far more important than many people realize. Just think back to Super Bowl 57. The Eagles lost crucial ground in the third phase of the game. It cost them against a well-coached and disciplined Kansas City squad. Nick Sirianni always emphasizes complementary football, and he's right to do so. You can't afford to have breakdowns in special teams, not in this league, and especially not with the kind of playoff expectations this franchise carries. So, with Hullett out, the Eagles have turned to free agent Cal Adomitis. He's a Pittsburgh native who originally signed with the Bengals as an undrafted free agent out of Pitt in 2022. Adomitis saw action in nearly 50 games with Cincinnati before losing the long snapper job to rookie Will Wagner. Now, he's getting a shot in Philly. The big question is whether he can come in and keep the snap-hold-kick sequence flowing smoothly. That part of the game is invisible until it goes wrong, and the Eagles can't afford mishaps in close matchups. We don't know the full details of Hullett's injury yet, but it's reportedly related to the neck issues he's dealt with in the past. He missed a large chunk of time last season with the Browns, and even this preseason, his availability was inconsistent. It's unfortunate, especially for a guy who's 35 and clearly battling to stay on the field. With Rick Lovato now in Los Angeles, the Eagles didn't have the luxury of falling back on a familiar name. Lovato, by the way, is now one of just 4 players to win 2 Super Bowls with his franchise, joining the likes of Brandon Graham, Lane Johnson, and Jake Elliott. Pretty elite company when you think about it. And speaking of Elliott, he's been absolutely nails to start the season. After a rough year in 2024, particularly from 50 yards and beyond, he's bounced back in a big way. Through the opening stretch of the season, he's perfect on all attempts, including 3 for 3 from 50+. That's a direct reflection not only of his confidence, but also the precision of the operation, from the snap to the hold. It's a small detail in the grand scheme, but when games are decided by just a few points, special teams execution becomes critical. And let's not forget how impressive punter Braden Mann has been. He's quietly emerged as one of the best punters in the league. If Adomitis can step in and keep things stable, the Eagles shouldn't skip a beat. But if there's a hiccup in the operation, it could impact both the kicking game and the field position battle. That's a risk you never want to take, especially in a year when the margin for error is so thin in the NFC. Now, moving on to some other moves. With 2 players headed to IR, Hullett and Obu Aranku, and only 1 signing, the Eagles still have 1 open roster spot. They released linebacker Lance Dixon from the practice squad, and while there was some speculation about former first-round pick Kenyon Green being a possible addition, he's now landed on the Ravens practice squad. Baltimore, by the way, is absolutely decimated by injuries. It's wild how fast the conversation shifts. Just a few weeks ago, people were saying this might finally be the year the Chiefs fall off. But now, Kansas City has rattled off 2 straight wins and looks like they're ready to make another Super Bowl push. With Baltimore limping and Buffalo's defense struggling, are we really staring at another Chiefs AFC title? The fatigue is real, but they just keep winning. Back to the Birds, let's talk about what's becoming one of the more talked-about storylines in Philly, the situation with A.J. Brown. Offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo addressed it this week, trying to cool things down and clear the air. He and Brown have a long history together. Patullo arrived in Philadelphia with Sirianni back in 2021, and the Eagles traded for Brown on draft night the following year. That means they've been around each other for a while, and according to Patullo, their relationship is strong. Still, when A.J. Brown drops a cryptic post, possibly a Bible verse, after a quiet game, people start talking. The media picked it up immediately. Nick Sirianni had to answer for it, and talk radio exploded with speculation. Is it frustration over targets? A deeper issue behind the scenes? No one really knows. But if you're A.J. Brown, you've got to ask yourself what the end game is here. You've been to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. You've been named an All-Pro. You've posted over 1,000 yards every single season in Philly. You've already gotten not 1, but 2 contract extensions. If this is about feeling more involved in the offense, that's understandable. But if it's about something bigger, you've got to tread carefully. The grass isn't always greener elsewhere, especially when you're playing on a contending team in a passionate city with one of the best defensive lines in football. As for his role in the offense, Patullo offered some insight. He admitted there were things they could have done differently in the second half of last week's game. The Eagles started fast, had rhythm, were executing their game plan. But after the momentum shift, sparked by a 65-yard field goal at the end of the first half, the energy completely changed. That play was a gut punch. Suddenly, everything fell off. The flow was gone, and the offense never really recovered. And while AJ wasn't featured as much as he probably should have been, that's not always about the play calling. Game flow matters. Defenses dictate looks. Sometimes, things just don't break the right way. Still, you can feel the urgency building. A.J. Brown wants the ball more. The coaches want to get him involved. The fans want him lighting up the scoreboard. It's all aligned, but the execution needs to follow. Patullo also made a good point when he said that the team has faced some of the toughest defenses in the league early on. From Spagnuolo's Chiefs to the Rams' top-ranked unit and the always aggressive Bucs defense. It hasn't exactly been an easy stretch. These are the types of games that test you, force adjustments, and build long-term success. And if there's one thing this coaching staff has proven, it's that they know how to adapt. Last season, they made in-season changes that propelled them to a championship. They can do it again. All of that said, let's not forget the positive developments on the defensive side of the ball. Vic Fangio had a lot to say this week, and one of the more interesting nuggets came when he was asked about rookie cornerback Kelee Ringo. After a strong showing against Tampa Bay, where he was targeted just 3 times and allowed only 1 catch for 8 yards, Fangio said there's a chance Ringo could become a full-time starter. That's big. Outside of a few missed tackles, he looked comfortable and confident. He's got the size, speed, and instincts. And when you compare him to someone like Adoree Jackson, the gap isn't as wide as you might think. With Bennett still dealing with injuries, this might be the time to let Ringo grow into the role. And finally, some great news for the linebacker core. Nakobe Dean, who tore his patellar tendon back in January during the wild card game against Green Bay, has had his practice window opened. His recovery has been nothing short of remarkable. But here's where it gets tricky. Fangio was asked if Dean's return means Jihad Campbell could now be used more as a pass rusher. The answer? Not right now. Why? Because Jihad Campbell and Zach Bond have been that good. Statistically, by the eye test, by analytics, they're one of the best linebacker duos in the league so far this year. And while Nakobe Dean is a talented player, you don't take guys like Bond and Campbell off the field when they're playing at this level. Dean will still get opportunities. He'll spell Campbell or Bond when needed, and maybe in pass-rushing sets, he finds a niche. But the Eagles aren't going to disrupt the current defensive balance just to squeeze him in. Long-term, Dean may need to look elsewhere for a starting job. That's not a knock on him. It's just the reality of a team that's suddenly loaded at linebacker. While all eyes have been locked in on injuries, special teams depth, and A.J. Brown social media hints, there's another layer to the Philadelphia Eagles right now that can't be ignored, and that's how they continue to evolve mid-season under Nick Sirianni. This isn't the same team that started the year, not in identity, not in rhythm, and definitely not in chemistry. What we're seeing is a team going through a transformation in real time, trying to find a balance between keeping their stars happy, winning games, and managing one of the deepest, most talented rosters in the NFL. That's not an easy job, even for a coach like Sirianni, who has done nothing but win since arriving in Philadelphia. Let's circle back to the A.J. Brown situation, because while Kevin Patullo downplayed any major friction and Sirianni tried to keep things light, the truth is, this kind of tension doesn't just come out of nowhere. A.J. Brown is an emotional player. That's part of what makes him so dangerous on the field. He plays with intensity, with fire, and with a chip on his shoulder. But when that passion starts spilling over off the field, it becomes a storyline. Especially in a city like Philly, where fans read between every line of a tweet and look for clues in every press conference. The tweet he sent wasn't aggressive, it wasn't loud, but it was intentional. And that's what makes it powerful. People around the league are starting to ask, is AJ feeling underappreciated? Is he thinking long-term? Is this about play calling, quarterback trust, or something deeper? It's hard to say, but the Eagles would be wise to keep their star receiver fully engaged and feeling valued. Because as good as Devonta Smith is, as talented as Dallas Goedert can be, there's no denying that A.J. Brown is the alpha in that receiving room. When he's locked in and heavily involved, the entire offense feels more explosive. You saw it last year. You saw it in stretches this year. And the moment he starts to fade out of the game plan, whether by design or accident, the offense loses some of its edge. There's a rhythm that exists between Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown when they're both synced up. When that connection is off, it's noticeable. And while Hurts hasn't said much publicly about the matter, you can bet he feels the pressure to keep his top weapon involved. That's part of being a franchise quarterback. Balancing egos, keeping harmony, and still making the right reads in real time. And look, some of this just comes with being on a contending team. Winning masks a lot of issues. But when you're grinding through close games, dropping one or two along the way, those little frustrations start to rise to the surface. Players want clarity. They want to know where they stand. And AJ, for all his accolades and success, is no different. He wants the ball. He wants to dominate. And when the team isn't putting him in those positions, even if unintentionally, he's going to let it be known, directly or indirectly. Now defensively, the emergence of some younger names is creating a different kind of challenge for the Eagles coaching staff. The development of players like Khalil Ringo, Quinyon Mitchell, and Jayad Campbell has accelerated at a pace few expected. These aren't just rookies filling in. They're producing at a high level. And in the case of Campbell, he might already be one of the best linebackers on the team. His combination of speed, vision, and instinct has completely changed how the defense operates. He's everywhere. And when you pair him with Zach Bond, who's finally started to show consistency, you've got a duo that's playing at a near elite level. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy. Share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers are swirling through the NFL world this week after comments attributed to veteran broadcaster Joe Buck have set tongues wagging and fans on edge. According to sources close to the matter, Buck, long known for his polished and often diplomatic commentary, allegedly made remarks that didn't sit well with Philadelphia Eagles supporters, sparking a firestorm of speculation about his true feelings toward the reigning NFC contenders. While the exact wording hasn't been fully confirmed, insiders suggest Buck's tone hinted at doubt over the Eagles' consistency and ability to perform under pressure, a rare deviation from his usual measured approach. The reaction from fans has been swift and vocal, particularly on social media platforms where Eagles followers are dissecting every syllable. Some are calling it a personal slight, a slight that might have been unintended but nonetheless strikes at the heart of one of the league's most passionate fan bases. Sports forums are buzzing with theories. Did Buck let slip what some insiders have whispered for months, that the Eagles roster, while talented, may not have the championship grit needed for the season ahead? Or is this just another case of media hyperbole, a misinterpreted quip blown out of proportion by the ever-watchful online crowd? Veteran analysts are weighing in cautiously, noting that Buck has never shied away from offering sharp critiques when warranted, but rarely at the expense of such a high-profile team. Could this be a subtle warning that the Eagles' star-studded lineup is not as invincible as it seems? Or is it merely the latest rumor in the endless cycle of NFL chatter, destined to flare up and then fade as quickly as it arrived? Regardless, the timing couldn't be more combustible, with Philadelphia preparing for a critical stretch of games that could define their season. If true, Buck's words may serve as fuel for a team known for channeling criticism into motivation. Eagles players have historically responded to doubts with performances that silence skeptics, turning every slight into a rallying cry. For now, the league watches closely, and fans debate feverishly. Did Joe Buck just stir the pot, or is this the start of a more revealing narrative about the Eagles' place in the hierarchy of the NFL? Either way, the chatter isn't going anywhere soon. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.